When the police arrest you, they can search your pockets, your bag, even your car. But your phone? That's different. In 2014, the Supreme Court ruled unanimously, 9-0, that before an officer can scroll through your phone, they usually need a warrant. Here's what the law actually says about your phone, your rights, and the strange gaps where even the courts don't agree. It all starts with the Fourth Amendment. That's the part of the Constitution that protects you from unreasonable searches and seizures. In plain English, the government can't just search you, your home, or your stuff whenever it feels like it. The default rule is simple. Before it searches, it needs a warrant. So, what's a warrant? It's written permission from a judge. And to get one, the police can't just say we have a hunch. They have to show probable cause, a real, fact-based reason to believe they will find evidence of a crime. Here's the key. The judge decides, not the officer. And the warrant has to be specific. Which place, which thing. No blank checks. That's the whole system in one image. A neutral referee standing between you and the search. Now, there's a long-standing exception. When police arrest you, they're allowed to search whatever's on you. Your wallet, your keys, your pockets. With no warrant at all. It's called a search incident to arrest, and the idea is officer safety and stopping you from destroying evidence. Now, a quick but important distinction. Being stopped is not the same as being arrested. If an officer stops you on the street with reasonable suspicion, they can pat down your outer clothing for weapons. That's called a Terry stop. But a pat down for weapons is not a search of your phone. Being detained, questioned, even frisked. None of that by itself lets them go through your phone. That still takes a warrant, your consent, or an arrest, plus one of the exceptions. So, here was the big question. Your phone is on you. Does that mean the moment you're arrested, an officer can just open it and start reading? In 2014, the Supreme Court answered, and it wasn't close. All 9 justices agreed. The case was Riley versus California. A man was pulled over, arrested, and the police went through his phone right then. No warrant. They found photos and videos they used to tie him to a shooting. The question reached the Supreme Court. Was that search legal? The court said no. Its reasoning was simple but powerful. A phone is nothing like a wallet. It holds your photos, your messages, your location history, your bank, your whole life. Searching it isn't like checking your pockets. It's like searching everything you've ever done. The Chief Justice wrote that a modern phone holds, for many Americans, the privacies of life, and that searching one can reveal more than the most thorough search of your entire house. So, the court drew a bright line. To search a phone, the police need to do one thing first: get a warrant. There's also a way your phone can hurt you with no search at all. If something incriminating is sitting right there in plain view, a message or a photo lit up on your lock screen, an officer who's lawfully standing there can use what they see. It's called the plain view doctrine, but that only covers what's already on the screen. It doesn't let them unlock or dig through the rest of the phone. And because that rule comes from the Constitution, not any single state's law, it's the same in all 50 states. One unanimous ruling, protecting everyone, everywhere. But, and this is where it gets real, there are exceptions. Exception 1. Consent. If you say sure, go ahead, the police don't need a warrant, because you just handed the protection away. Which is why the single most useful sentence to know is this: I do not consent to a search. You are allowed to say no. And here's what most people don't know about consent. It's not all or nothing. You can limit it. You can look at my texts, but not my photos. And you can take it back. At any point you can say, I'm revoking my consent, and the search is supposed to stop. Consent is a door you can open partway and close again. Exception 2, emergencies. If there's an urgent danger, someone's life is at risk, or evidence is seconds from being wiped, the police can act without waiting on a warrant. Courts call these exigent circumstances. They're narrow, and the officer has to justify them afterward. Exception 3, and the murkiest, the border. At an airport or a border crossing, the normal rules loosen. The government claims much broader power to search phones there, and courts around the country don't agree on how much suspicion, if any, they need first. If you travel internationally, your phone is on shakier ground. Here's something bigger than what's on the phone itself. Your phone is also a tracker. Every day, it logs where you go. In 2018, in a case called Carpenter versus United States, the Supreme Court ruled that police generally need a warrant to pull that location history from your cell company. So it's not just your messages that are protected, it's your movements too. Now the part almost nobody knows, and where even the courts are split. Say the police get a warrant, can they force you to unlock the phone yourself? Here's the twist. Many courts have ruled your passcode is protected, because forcing you to reveal what's in your head is like forcing you to testify against yourself, which the Fifth Amendment forbids. But your face or your fingerprint. Some courts say that's fair game, because it's a physical thing, not a thought. So, in some places, a passcode keeps your phone locked, but Face ID or a fingerprint doesn't. It's an unsettled, genuinely strange line, and it can come down to which courthouse you're standing in. Lawmakers and judges are still fighting it out. Now, why is the unlock question such a battle in the first place? One word: encryption. Modern phones scramble their own data by default, locked so tightly that often not even the company that built the phone can get in. That's what flipped the whole game. If the government can't break in, its best option is to get you to open it, which is exactly why the fight over passcodes matters so much. So, what happens if the police search your phone illegally? No warrant, no exception. Usually the evidence gets thrown out. It's called the exclusionary rule. If the search broke the rules, prosecutors generally can't use what it found. That's what gives the whole system teeth. But the exclusionary rule has a catch. If police search using a warrant that later turns out to be flawed, but they honestly and reasonably believed it was valid, the evidence can sometimes still be used. It's called the good faith exception. So, the rule has teeth, just not in every situation. Let's put it together with real situations. You're pulled over for speeding, and the officer asks to see your phone. Do you have to hand it over? No, not without a warrant or your consent. You're arrested. Can they search the phone right then? Generally, no. Riley says they need a warrant first. Coming home from a trip abroad? At the border, the rules are looser and less settled. A real gray zone. One more modern wrinkle. A warrant for your phone covers what's on the device, but your photos and messages often live in the cloud, on a company's servers, and reaching those can require going to the company with a separate legal demand. The law is still catching up to where your data actually lives. Step back, and here's why this all exists. The Fourth Amendment isn't really about criminals, it's about everyone. It's the line that stops the government from flipping through your entire digital life on a hunch. So here's the bottom line. Your phone gets special protection. A unanimous Supreme Court said so. The police usually need a warrant, but consent waives it. Emergencies can override it. The border bends it. And whether they can make you unlock it is still being fought out, court by court. If you remember nothing else, remember this. The default is a warrant. You can always say, I don't consent. And what happens next depends a lot on where you are and what you agreed to. So, what should you actually do if an officer asks for your phone? Stay calm, stay polite, and know your line. I do not consent to a search. You don't have to type in your passcode, though courts are still split on whether they can force your finger or your face. And even if they take the phone, they generally still need a warrant to look inside it. Don't resist, don't argue, just don't volunteer access. That's the law in searching your phone. The rule, the exceptions, and the gaps still being decided. Know your default, know your rights. Now you know.